Greetings folks, how we doing? Simon here. Another in-car video. I'm just driving back from my parents' house in Beaudesert in southeast Queensland, just heading up to Brisbane for a bit of Uber driving tonight. And today's video is inspired by something that happened while I was driving for Uber last night. Actually, I picked up a young lady who had obviously just finished work at a restaurant in southern Brisbane, and she didn't look too happy. And I said to her, "Look, is everything all right? Do you want to have a chat about what's going on?" And she said, "Oh, I literally just quit my job." And I said, "Oh, are you okay with that? What happened? If you want to talk about it?" And she said, "Well, I've been a restaurant manager for 10 years, and I've been working in this place for 2 months. Ever since I arrived here, the boss won't listen to any of my recommendations. He wants to do things the way he's always done them. He's spending too much money on this and too much money on that, not enough money on other things." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "Yeah, every time something goes wrong, he blames me for it." And I said, "Oh, this doesn't sound too good." And she said, "Yeah. The worst thing was, after I started work, I found out that I was the 6th restaurant manager there in the space of a year." So I said to her, "Okay, I think the problem might be with the boss and not with you." And she said, "Yeah, I know." She said, "It was really starting to affect my confidence, so I got out of the situation." I said, "That's a good move. It really is. Sometimes you need to save your own sanity." And I shared with her a story about my old regional manager when I was working for my former company in Southeast Asia, who was a very aggressive kind of person, and he was a real borderline sociopathic bully who the way he controlled everyone was by picking fights with them. You never knew. You could do the same thing on 2 different days and you could get different feedback from him for it. He made up his mind as to how he felt about things and the action he was going to take as to what his feeling was that day. After a couple of years with the company, he'd picked fights with pretty much everyone, and he wondered why he had no one left on side. When his standing in the company was starting to slide because of his behaviour, and mine was starting to go up because, I was working hard and trying my best, he started to get quite jealous, and he started a bit of a rumour that I was late for work all the time, and it instigated a bit of a witch hunt. Of course, it wasn't true, and didn't turn out well for him. He was terminated a few months after that for quite a number of reasons, and after he got fired, he expected me to help him get his job back or help him get another job. And I thought, well, I can't really do that. I mean, this is a guy who, when we were at a work dinner one time and I was peeling a prawn to eat it, said, "What are you doing that for?" and shoved the prawn into my mouth and tried to get me to chew it. That didn't go down too well, and that was one of the points where I really started to stand up to him, like, "Look, that's enough." And of course, bullies don't like that. They don't like it when you stand up to them, because a lot of the time they're in that position of power just so they can exercise control over people. After he got fired, the nasty messages on Facebook started rolling in, snide rubbish and stuff, and eventually I just ignored him. And I got the typical narcissistic response from that, where he wrote on Facebook, "Oh, what are you ignoring me for? I've got you your last 3 jobs and all that kind of stuff, and you wouldn't be anywhere if it wasn't for me." And I'm like, "Okay, yep, you go on believing that, mate. And you wonder why you don't have any friends or allies left, because, people just can't deal with your crap." Now, if you find yourself faced with a situation like this with a boss or a supervisor or something like that, my advice to you, first step, go over their heads. Take whatever action, especially if someone really obviously does not have your best interests at heart, and you can honestly look inside yourself, honestly, and say that you're not causing these problems, or you're not, heavily contributing to them. Go over their head and say, "Look, to the next person available," and report the behaviour. If that doesn't work, government reporting agencies, if they're available, that deal with workplace bullying. unfortunately, in some companies and in some countries, this kind of thing is not available. Sometimes it's a case of either suck it up or leave, and that's really horrible. Now, if you're at the stage where there's nothing you can really do about someone's behaviour, you've exhausted all your avenues, it shouldn't have to be like this. But if it's affecting your life outside of work and your life at work, it's gotten to the stage where it might just be time to cut and run and leave, because honestly, you don't need that kind of behaviour affecting your life. I was lucky that this guy was terminated, but I mean, yeah, even I tried my very best to be on good terms with him, and even after he quit, he was still desperately trying to exert bullying control over me, and when he found that he couldn't, he didn't like it very much. So cut these people out of your life, especially if you're experiencing depression or anxiety or any of these issues. You just don't need to be around people that don't have your best interests at heart. First step, report them. Second step, escalate it to a government agency if you can. And third step, if all else fails, find yourself another job. You will be better off for it in the long run. Okay? All right, folks. Well, it's a bit of heavy subject material for us today, but dealing with what I dealt with yesterday, I thought, yep, this was a good time to discuss this kind of thing. Well, time to get back on Uber. Might get a few customers soon, we shall see. It's been lovely to chat to you. Hopefully, my experiences have helped a few people as well. We shall talk to you again soon. All right, we shall talk again soon. All right, chat to you then. Onwards and upwards, folks. Bye-bye.